The fridge expert here. Today I'm going to be replacing a seized compressor on a FFU3DX. This is a step-by-step guide on how to remove and replace the compressor. So I'm going to be using lock rings to attach the new compressor, as it's R600 and we do not braze R600. So start off by just disconnecting the compressor feet. So removing the two aluminium clips that hold the compressor down. Disconnecting the electrics. So remove the dissipator tray. Put that to the side, as I'll be using the same dissipator tray to replace on the new compressor. So you've got to sand down with the lock rings. You have to sand and file down with emery tape as clean as you can the pipes, so the glue can stick and you don't get any leaks. Also, filter dryer has to get replaced. So just sand that down. Make sure everything is sanded down clean. So when the pipes are cut and we put lock ring glue on it, it sticks and has a nice tight seal. I've cut the capillary there. I always start off with that, so if there's any refrigerant in the system it can just come out. Cut the dryer off. It's off. Cut the discharge off. After disconnecting the discharge, we now move on to cutting the suction pipe. So once the suction pipe is completely cut off, the compressor is now free to pull out. Now, most of these domestic compressors come without the rubbers, so you have to use the rubbers that are already on the compressor. Sometimes they do dry up and they're hard to take off, and you will have to order new rubbers in order to carry out the job, as the rubbers are very important. It stops the compressor from vibrating and holds it in place. So I need few different size lock rings in order to reattach the new compressor. So for the discharge, I will be using a 7 by 5 millimeter. Suction, I will need a 8 millimeter by 6 millimeter. Charging pipe, I will need a 6 by 6, so 6 millimeter by 6 millimeter. For the dryer, finally, the top end of the dryer, we need a 5 millimeter by 5 millimeter. And for the capillary part of the dryer, I'll need a 5 millimeter by 1.8 millimeter. So I'm just preparing the lock rings. Always have the lock rings ready, just in case. If you have any lock rings missing or you don't find the right size lock ring, you won't be able to reattach, and you can't braze as it's R600 plus it's plastic at the back, and these pipes do take a long time to heat up in order for the solder to melt, so you could end up melting the customer's flooring or the customer's fridge, and you don't want to do that. So I'm just putting the rubbers back on to the new compressor. Make sure all 4 rubbers are on. Place the compressor in place. Put the aluminium clips in. Twist the head so it can lock into place. That's it, nice and secure. Just give it a little nudge. Now we're ready to get the lock rings on and secure the compressor in place. So, in regards to the lock rings, I like to start from the from the discharge. So from the back and work my way forward. So attach the 7.5 to the discharge of the compressor. Put glue on there. Not too much, just enough, because sometimes it goes a bit rock hard. And if you do need to change the compressor again in the future, it just makes it harder to cut the pipe. You've got to cut further back and there's not enough pipe work. So that's the Vulcan lock ring tool you use to crimp the pipe together, and that gives it a solid joint. As you can see, that's done. Now to the suction, which is an 8x6. Same again. Make sure there's enough glue. Same technique. Always make sure that the lock ring tool is locked open. You can clamp it so you can get a good grip, because you can bend the lock rings and then you have to take them off and start again, and which means cutting back, and obviously the compressor pipe's already short. You can get away with it once, but definitely not twice. So the charging pipe is a bit long, so I've had to cut it, otherwise the charging valve sticks out too much and I don't like that, so I'll just cut it back a little bit, and I'm going to put the charging valve on with a 6x6 lock ring. That's it, same technique. Now for the dryer, as it sort of the pipe goes down, it doesn't sit still, so you can either bend the pipe sideways so it's at a 90-degree angle, put the dryer on and then rebend it back so going down, or just as you can see, I like to hold it with my foot and sort of keep it in place so it doesn't move. The dryer is the most difficult part to put on because there's nothing to sort of hold it in place, so you have to sort of manipulate it a little bit with your foot and move your foot up as the lock ring is tightening. You move up with it. As you can see there, I'm holding it with my foot. But once that bit's secure, the 5.5, so the top end of the dryer is on, it's secure. The capillary part is easy. So that's just making sure everything's on. Clip it back in place so it secures it even more. When you put in the capillary, it doesn't move. So with the capillary, so we're using a 5 by 1.8. Make sure the capillary goes right the way through to the other end of the lock ring and it sticks out. If you don't have enough capillary pipe, then you don't have to, but I always like to make it stick right the way through, then push it in to the dryer so I know it doesn't get blocked, because that glue, if you put it too far at the top, it would lock the capillary and seal it, and you'll get a blocked system. So that's the capillary on, dryer nice and secure, compressor nice and secure. I will be doing a part 2 and 3 to this video on how to fit the dissipator tray, wire the electrics, vac and regas the system. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe.